Welcome, and I'm calling this meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, so there is no report out from closed session, so that's 3.2. 3.3 is approval of the minutes of March 13th, 2019. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
Second.
Is that Margie? All right, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Okay, the motion carries. Next up is 3.4, the minutes of April 10th, 2019. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
Chair Beggs, if I may.
Yes.
So there's an amendment to the unapproved minutes that include the names of those others present that were not listed on the
Right.
printed version. So,
You did say that. Okay. So to approve as amended.
I move to approve as amended.
Okay. Nancy?
So what are the names? Or was it, I mean, I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but.
No, I have them.
Okay.
So others present at the 3:30 section would include James Hoopus and Kimberly Carter. And others present at the 5:30, James Hoopus, Brian Sanders, Melissa Raby, Judy Lanchester, Don Borges, Kara Lipke, Lou Martin, Sherry Suarez, Catherine Pritchard, Shelley Akiona, Brian Justin Marks, Nate Rain, Curtis Martin, Jillian Daly, Jim Salman, Trevor Stewart, Tina Hiron, Robert Stevenson, Jeff Swank, Kelly Butler, Todd Jackson, Laura DeFreitas, Jennifer Macias, Tina Akers Parker, Margot Guzman, Lloyd Jackson, and Pedro Mendez.
So it was just an oversight that they were left out?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't understand that. Great. Thank you.
Okay. So all in favor say aye.
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 All opposed say nay. Any abstentions? Okay, motion carries. Next, we have approval of the minutes of the April 22nd spring retreat.
Move we accept them?
Okay. Second from Abe, first from Ann. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Any abstentions? Okay, that one motion carries also. And we are now, unless I'm forgetting one of our many minutes, up to public comments. Do we have any public comments? No, okay. And if we have any comments for things that are agendized, just please raise your hand and let me know when we get to that item. All right, so we are up to the Board Finance Committee report with Darren, who is not here tonight. Abe, is there a report?
I have him on my earphone. No, not really. The Board Finance Committee met on May 6th. The committee received information focused on the monthly finance update, FTEs update, the quarter report on the district financial condition. In addition, the deficit factor, the amended budget, other post-employment benefits, OPEB, trust, and the 2/18/19 district audit entrance conference were discussed. Lastly, the committee accepted the 2019-20 board finance meeting schedule. Meetings will be held from 11 a.m. to 12 noon on June 3rd, September 3rd, October 1st, December 2nd, and February 3rd and May 4th at the district office. And that is Darren's report.
Thank you very much. Okay. And then we have the Board Policy Committee report, 4.2, and that would be Ann.
Thank you, Chair Beggs. We met on Monday, and we looked at some of the suggestions that we had made from the previous month, such as adding fair political practices sites so that people could look up, about 700 form and that. So, and we had like very few changes that are on your table in front of you. It's very, very little, but Kimberly will speak to that briefly this evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, so we are up to 5.1, which is a presentation from Fiscal Services on post-employee benefits, an update with Dr. Schrader. And, hi.
With us this evening is Carolyn Cox from U.S. Bank. They are the bank that handles our other post-employment benefit trust plan. And we were asked to provide a presentation, a more of an informational presentation as we're getting ready to go into our full actuarial that'll be happening in this fall. So I'll go ahead and turn it over to Carolyn.
Thank you.
Hello. Thanks for letting me be here. I just want to say I'm joined today by my colleagues Maureen Toll and Rick Rosenthal. Maureen Toll is with PARS, who is the plan administrator for the program, and Rick is the portfolio manager who handles the investment. I'm senior vice president with U.S. Bank. U.S. Bank is the trustee for this program. So this is a partnership, this program, between PARS and U.S. Bank. PARS serves as a trust administrator and consultant. U.S. Bank serves as the trustee and investment manager. PARS has been in business for over 35 years. U.S. Bank for 156 years. Interesting factoid about U.S. Bank, our bank charter was actually signed by Abraham Lincoln. So that's one of our things that we're very proud of. Plans under administration, we have over 1,800 plus plans, 900 plus public agencies, and over 450,000 participants. PARS handles over $3.2 billion of assets in these plans. U.S. Bank overall as a trustee has over $5 trillion under administration. This plan for the district is a Section 115 irrevocable exclusive benefit trust. That means the trust was set up for the exclusive benefit of the participants in the plan, and we are the discretionary trustee, which means as discretionary trustee, we have responsibility to safeguard the assets as well as to provide investment services for the plan. The plan was put into effect July 1st of 2008. And the plan administrator is the Vice Chancellor of Fiscal Services, Susan Jaeger, currently. And our current investment strategy for this plan is what we call an income multi-manager. I'll go into that a little bit more in detail. The plan, the first contribution was made July 2009, $14,943,947. Since that time, the district has contributed another $34,729,555. So the total contributions have been $49,673,502. We have reimbursed the district for costs associated with retiree health care, and those reimbursements have totaled $28,581,279, and the plan has gotten investment earnings over that period of $13,119,264. As of March 31st, the balance in the plan was $32,716,855. So this shows a history of the contributions and distributions by year, as well as in that first column, what the district's OPEB liability was per the actuarial reports. So there's not an actuarial report done every year. So it doesn't exactly match up. But as of the last actuarial report that was done, the outstanding liability was that $38,311,292. And if you go over to the last column, you'll see at that point in time, the assets in the trust were $31,296,795. So the plan was underfunded. So while the district is doing very well in comparison to many other public agencies, you're at about 82% funded. You're still not 100% funded. And there is an actuarial evaluation being done right now for, which should be done later on this year. So the actuarial, when the plan was established, assumed a rate of return in the plan, a discount rate of 5% before you adopted a trust. So when the trust was adopted, your liability was $43 million back in 2005. As of the last actuarial that was done in 2017, the actuary assumed a 6.5% discount rate, or that's what they assumed that the investments would earn. And so the liability, given that you had been funding the plan and you had 31 million at that point in time, you were still underfunded by $7 million as of the last actuarial report. So when we talk about investment options and that discount rate, what we need to look at is how do we invest those assets? Basically, we have the option of investing in equity or kind of like the stock type of investments or fixed income in bonds. And so every asset allocation will be a different mix of bonds and equities, fixed income versus equity. The district currently is in the income, so these pie charts that you're seeing are in ascending kind of order of the amount of risk or the amount of equity that's in the portfolio. And I say risk, but it's a relative term because at different points in time, there can be risk associated with bond instruments as well. As we saw last year, risk being that you're gonna lose some of your principal. Last year, when the interest rates were rising, bonds tend to lose value in a rising rate environment. So you tend to see the principal can be lost even in a bond portfolio. Now, when the plan was first adopted, each asset allocation has an assumed rate of return with it. Like historically, what have we seen that type of portfolio return over time? And this chart shows back in 2012 that the return expectations were significantly higher than they are currently. And there's a variety of reasons for that. I mean, all of us can remember that back 2012, which was only a few years after the economic crisis, interest rates had been higher for those past like 20 years. Anybody who's my age, which there's not a lot of people that are this age, baby boomers, we can remember when we were out buying our first cars or our first, homes, there was interest rates were in the double digits back in the late 70s, early 80s. Obviously, last year and for the past 8 years, we were down into a zero rate environment. Interest rates were very low. So then the return you could get on your investments was very low. Stock market, same kind of things. You have years that there's high returns, you have years that the market loses. So you take all of that and you throw it into, calculations, and what can you expect to see in these types of portfolios over the long term? So as I mentioned before, the district currently is in the income portfolio. So the assumed rate of interest for that portfolio back in 2012 was 5.3. As of now, it's 3.21. If you go up to the next portfolio, which would be the balanced portfolio, the return right now would be assumed 5.9. Now, you may remember that I said that the last actuarial report, they assumed a rate of return on this portfolio of 6.5. And I know that there's been some recent discussions with your actuary, and they're probably going to reduce that 6.5 to 6. But you still need to pick a portfolio that's going to get close to that return. And even though the incomes come down to 3.21, we feel fairly good about you picking that portfolio, given that over time, and I'll show you this on the next one, this is what your actual performance has been. So the total portfolio gross of fees, that top number on the first line, the one way over there, it's been 5.88% before the fees were taken out, or 5.72. So you can see historically you've been pretty close to that 6% return. And so that's the reason that we would recommend staying with the current income approach to the investments. And we do meet quarterly with staff to go over what's been going on with those, what's the recent market been doing, what's our outlook for the market, and it is evaluated on a quarterly basis. It's the end. I'll take questions if you have any.
I have a question. You said that you reported out the number that was paid out to the district for health benefits. Is there anything, because I'm just a little foggy on it, what else goes into the OPEB? Is it just the payment of retiree benefits? What?
It's healthcare benefits. I don't know, Sarah, if you want to come up and help take those questions.
So it's actually not a reimbursement to the district itself. We are actually paying the medical benefits directly to our insurer, our third-party CISC. So what happens is each month we get a bill from CISC, we evaluate it, we review it, and then we submit it to our trust through PARS, and they cut the check directly to CISC, and they pay the benefits for the retirees straight out of the trust.
But there's nothing other than health retiree benefits in the OPEB
Correct.
commitment, yeah.
This is only retiree.
Great. Great report, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. So let's go to 5.2, which is a presentation from the English department on AB 705.
My name is Shelley Circle, and I'm from the English department, and I want to thank you guys so much for allowing us to come in and give you a little bit of catch up on where we are with our acceleration program and AB 705. And let me see if I can get this in here. There we go. Acceleration board.
It's just downloading it.
Okay.
You can pull it up.
Okay. All right. So some of you are new. Some of you are familiar faces to me. But I wanted to, for those of you who are new and may not know what we've been doing here at MJC in terms of acceleration in AB 705, I chose this particular image because what we have going on in the English department has been all about teamwork. And that teamwork began in 2015 when the MJC generously provided a professional development moment where we could go to a Selimar.
Shall,
Am I doing something? Oh, I have to be here. I can't move around. Okay, sorry. That's okay. I can force myself to stay still. I tend to move around. So anyway, thank you guys. So you guys, we got a professional development opportunity to go to a Selimar. It was a college-wide retreat. The focus was on student success. And during that time, we had all-day presentations from the California Acceleration Project, which most of us had never even heard about acceleration at that point in 2015. We had people from Reading Apprenticeship from the 3CSN Success Network come. We had emphasis on equity. And at the end of that Asilomar retreat, we were asked to pick a project that we would want to focus on when we come back so that the money that the college invested in that professional development opportunity would be used well. So a group of us from the English department decided to do acceleration. So we came back energized and excited from Asilomar, and we took on this project of creating acceleration. And through this, there was a large process because most of us did not know what acceleration was, so we had to train ourselves and teach ourselves what it was. But we began to decide to make changes. So small changes, big actions, or small actions, big changes. So for those of you unfamiliar, this is our traditional sequence that we had. So you can see that originally, when our students would test into basic skills, if they did not get into an English 50 class, then the open enrollment we had was English 49. And English 49 was linked with a Read 40. So that was 8 units right there. And then if they happened to pass those classes, they went to English 50, which was another 5-unit class. And then if they passed that, they went to 101. So total 3 semesters, 16 units. And a lot of these students were getting stuck. They were taking 49 2, 3 times, then they would go to 50, 2, 3 times, and they were just getting stuck. So when we got together as a group and a cohort, we decided, where do we want to begin this journey? And we decided that we wanted to start with what we have as English 45. We wanted to get those students who were trapped in that lower level with English 49. We wanted to move them. And our English 45 is a 6-unit class that replaces 49 and 50. It's backward designed, so it's like, what's the end that we want? We want them going to 101. So it's high challenge, high support. And now we're almost dismantling this class because now with AB 705, we have our English 100. So first we started off our pilot with our English 45 class, then we moved to English 50. And so we had these courses kind of running parallel, 49, 45. And then students began to vote with their feet, and they stopped going to 49 and they stopped going to 45, and we had to cancel like 10, 12, 13 sections of 49 because students, when they saw that 45. And the same thing happened with our English 100. We had English 50 going on and 100 at the same time. But then when they realized, well, why am I going to take these 2 classes when I could just take this one and be done with my college comp? And so we made these changes. And I wanted to show you that what is different about 100 and 101. You guys, the 100, now I got to teach the 100. And I can tell you that it's the same exact course learning outcomes. Got to teach that research paper. They have to write 8,000 words. There's absolutely no difference in the criteria that we have for that English 100. But what we do is we give them more support, more guidance, more hands-on, and we're there in the classroom with them a little bit longer. So we have that 5 units for 100 versus 3 units for 101. And what do we do to help our faculty who are now teaching these classes, right? So we started off with in-house training. The college supported us on professional development, and we got to go to the CAP Acceleration Project and be trained. We got to go to Reading Apprenticeship and be trained. And then when I say we, I am talking about Andrew Kranzman back there. He and I have been a team from the get-go since 2015, and everything we've done together. And so we started with in-house trainings. We had a huge in-house training summer of 2017 with faculty from reading, ESL, English department. We had counselors in there. We had success specialists. We had tutoring so that everybody on the campus who had a say in what was going on with students would get that kind of training and understand what acceleration is. Then we created Canvas shells. So we have where anybody who wants to teach one of our accelerated courses has to go through the training, and then they also have to use one of our tried, road-tested courses for a year. So that gives them the freedom to just focus on, how do I teach acceleration? How do I do that high support? And without having to worry about creating a theme, creating assignments, it's all there for them. We also have community of practice. And so those are bi-weekly meetings where we come in as faculty and we support one another. So it's about high support, high challenge for students, and high support and high challenge for faculty. And we have an amazing program in place that helps everyone in that so that everybody benefits. And now to give you a little idea of what difference that's made for our students in terms of our success and retention, I want to hand it over to Andrew. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. So like Shelley, I just want to echo my sincere thanks for inviting us to be here today and to present the good work that not only that Shelley and I have done, but that all of our colleagues in English have done through the generous support of a lot of professional development funds. And I think that this is a very wise investment that has put English way ahead of the curve. So in terms of AB 705, which is what I'll talk about now, certainly as it relates to English, we've had to make very, very little changes this year to really prepare for what the state is asking of English departments statewide at community colleges. And so the first thing that I just want to remind everyone of, in case you're a little rusty with your AB 705, is that really what AB 705 it's all about is throughput. And what they mean by throughput is they mean the probability of a student completing, in this case English, the probability of a student completing their transfer level English course within 1 year. So if they began in a course like English 45 and they're very successful in that course, that's not the same as throughput. So throughput, when we're thinking about AB 705 as it relates to English and math, that's the name of the game, and that's what the chancellor's office, that's what they're very interested in. Okay, so it's that probability of completing your gateway course. So for English, that would be English 100 or English 101 within a year. And then again, it's just to remind us of what is it that AB 705 for English, what is it asking of us? Well, again, it's asking of us to ensure to the best of our ability that a student cohort that begins their English sequence, if they start in the fall, that they complete that transfer level requirement within a year. So again, we need to, in English, we need to be able to maximize the probability of that cohort being successful. Okay, so with that said, what we have here is we have, this is a series of data that kind of tells the story of the transition and the transformation that Shelley spoke of just a moment ago. So for instance, if we were to look over here, this is really a snapshot, to the far left, this is a snapshot of our traditional sequence. So for instance, we would see that this red graph here, this would be individuals who started in English 49. And so out of the 278 individuals who started in fall 2016, 74% of those students were successful. Okay, not throughput yet, but they were successful. Now this is where the story starts to get a little depressing. And so out of those 278, the 74% who are successful, so the number shrinks, goes down to 180 something. They move on to English 50. That's what this yellow bar represents, so old sequence still. Only 33% of that number, they're successful. Then they can move on to English 101. Now we've entered AB 705 territory, because now we are helping this cohort enter their that transfer level course. However, as you see here, and it might be hard because this bar is so small, this green bar, this is 101, it's 7%. So of the original cohort who started in English 49, it took them 3 semesters, so already AB 705 is going to have a problem with that, but it took them 3 semesters to complete their transfer level course. In this case, it's 101. This is prior to 100. And only 7% of those students were successful. Now, here we have, this is just looking at English 50. So if we wanted to think about, well, let's look at this, a similar situation, but rather than students starting in English 49, which would be the 2 below sequence, they started in English 50, which would be just one level below. Okay, so out of that cohort, 69% of them were successful. And so 69% of the original cohort, they could move on to English 101. Again, this is before 100. A little better, still kind of depressing though, because out of that original cohort, only 35% of them were successful. Okay, and again, that would be below, we'll look at these numbers in a moment, but that's below the threshold that the state is asking us to try to ensure in terms of throughput rate for students in English. Okay, so enter English 45. Success rate this is phenomenal. This is the first year of English 45. And so this is a 1 level below class. It's open access, as Shelley said. And so these are the students who traditionally would have placed into English 49. However, we've already shaved one semester off of the coursework they have to do. We've also shaved 5, 9, we've shaved 8 units off of their traditional coursework as well. So they don't have to take English 49, which would have been 5 units. And then they don't have to take the reading co-rec, which was 3 units. So we saved them time and money. And so 70% of that original cohort were successful. And we were just patting ourselves on the back, as we should have, because that's a good number. However, again, throughput, that's the name of the game. Only 30% of that original cohort were successful, okay? So again, the state, they would take issue with that, okay? Certainly when we jump over here. So enter English 100. So this is when we roll out English 100. So it's an alternative that students have to taking that transfer level, that gateway course, English 101, which is 3 units. Though as Shelley mentioned, it's 5 units. And it's 5 units because the students need more support. The course learning objectives for 100 and 101, exactly the same. And so when we look at these, this is just straight out of the gate, of the original cohort who started in English 101, 60% of that cohort, they were successful. So they satisfied their transfer level requirement. Whereas the students who started in 100, 54% of them were successful. So, and that's above, we'll see in a moment, that's above the standards from the chancellor's office. So that's very impressive. These were students, this yellow bar, the next semester you see it's 55. These were the students who traditionally would have either been in this group, they would have been in English 50, okay? So they would have been the students who would have had maybe a 35% chance of completing their gateway requirement. And we've already improved that, okay? And so remember, AB 705, these are the default rules for English. So really what it's asking, when we think about how we're going to place students, and again, the English department, we're very fortunate because we're way ahead of the curve on this, because prior to AB 705, we'd already rolled out English 100 and English 45. So really this past year, we just had to decide on what were the rules that we wanted to use to place students. Did we want to go with state's rules, which would say that if you have a high school GPA of a 2.6 or higher, you should just go straight into 101. So don't monkey around or don't toy around with English 100. Whereas if you have a high school GPA of 1.9 to 2.6, you're probably better off going into English 100. Though if you would like to go into 101, you can, though English 100 is probably better for you. Whereas if you have a high school GPA of less than 1.9, you should definitely take English 100. Okay, the choice is, there really is no choice. You should definitely take English 100. And so again, thinking about as a department, what can we do to maximize the probability of students completing this gatekeeper or transfer level course within a year? We decided just to tweak these slightly. Great. And so what we decided to do for English was just to simplify things. And that is, if you have a 2.6 or above, well, you should take English 101. And if you have a 2.5 or below, you should just take English 100, okay? And what we're going to do is we have 2 years, beginning in the fall, to collect data. So we'll collect data on the students who are in that 2.5 or below group to see how do they do in English 100. And then that will help us, fine-tune things moving forward. And so that's, about it in terms of what we've done to prepare for AB 705. Looking ahead into the future, we are already planning to do some kind of co-requisite course with reading. So it can be attached to 100 if students feel like they need extra support with their reading comprehension. We are also thinking about how we can design English 100 courses for guided pathways. So each school can have its own English 100 that's tailored specifically to that, the interests and the field of study of that particular school. And then, I don't know, did I leave anything out? I don't think so. I think the biggest thing really moving ahead, aside from that, is also working on professional development. Because frankly, making the structural changes, that stuff's really easy. You have to kind of convince some of the holdouts in your department. But we've heard this a lot, though, with guided pathways. They say the same thing. They say the structural change, that's easy. But it's when you roll it out, you have to make the cultural changes. And the cultural changes, that's hard. And that takes a lot of work. So I think that's where we are moving ahead, is really focusing on ongoing professional development. So yeah, that's it. Thank you very much. Do you have any questions?
I do. I have two.
Please.
One, Shelley, you mentioned that with this new approach, or you can probably both answer, but please come back, that you were canceling a lot of English 49 classes and that. So does that mean overall there are fewer wait lists in the English department?
Yeah, we know, actually 49 and 50 are now inactivated, so they're no longer offered. So we just have 45, 100, and 101, and the fill rates are fantastic for the most part. And then in the fall, we're going to be going to, we have something like 77.
Now, I'll just add one thing, is that what 45 did, we had 45 for 2 years, and we went through a process where it grew. And now we're sort of shrinking it down again because students can't be placed into 45. But what that did is it enabled me to drastically increase the number of 101 sections. So originally I had about 50 on the schedule. Now we're up to over 70. So we went from 1,500 students enrolled in 101 to about 2,000. And then we're increasing our 100 sections from, originally it was a cohort of 12 to, in the fall, I think about 34. So greatly increasing the number of students in access to transfer level than before. And I still have wait lists, because I think it's about 2,500 students that have access, but we have about, 4,000 or more entering each fall. So, but it has helped a lot.
That's good.
Yes, Dr. Hoopus.
Just to help with the answer, one of the things that will help with the wait lists is you've done a very good job of thinking through of how to get your students to completion. And one of those byproducts is the amount of students that are repeating will go down. And so as the number of students repeating goes down, your wait list will shrink as well.
I think so. You guys, one of the things I did want to point out is that right now in our 100, students with a 2.3 or above get into 100. So we are in for a learning curve come in the fall because it's going to be open enrollment. And so we are going to have a very big variety of students coming into 100. And so, we're just sort of waiting to see what happens. And we did create, I worked with the reading department last semester to create a 2-hour non-credit reading course. And my hope was that reading course would be for those students with 1.9 and below, and that the reading department would use the readings from the course and give them extra time and extra support with the readings, right? Well, the department voted that down at the moment because I think they just felt like we didn't need to put that extra burden on them. So I think, as Andrew said, we need to wait a year or two and see what's happening. What's it going to be like? And then if we see by the data that our students we need that co-rec for the 1.9 below, we need to do something extra, then I know as a department, because of the way that we won't neglect that. We'll go back to the drawing board and we'll create whatever's needed to help those students, because it really is about student-centered. So we're rolling it out with 100 being open enrollment with some 45 students there if they want. But I think the data shows very clearly that students who are placed directly into 100 are more likely to succeed in 1 year and meeting that than they are. And you guys, one of the things I neglected to say is that when we made our sequence change from the traditional to the acceleration, we got rid of exit points. So for example, exit points are huge. I mean, I'm thinking in my head of the data for English 50. We had like 750 students take English 50. 550 of those students passed. Did 550 enroll in 101? No, 300. And that's just an exit point. Of the students who passed, of the 550 students who passed English 50, 300 enrolled into 101. So we're losing students through exit points. So 145 are eliminating those exit points. And also you have to think about psychologically when students are going into these developmental ed, basic skills classes, there's a psychological component. Well, I knew I'm stupid, I can't do this, I'm not good. But you put them in a college level course and you say, hey, we believe in you, we're gonna support you, you can do this. Then they kind of like rise to the occasion. And, Andrew and I have both seen that, in the traditional sequence, we underestimated. When I didn't spend a lot of time on it, but with our training, one of the very first things that we emphasize is student capacity. Students can do this. We just need to stand behind them and we need to give them the support that they need. And they rise to the occasion. It's not perfect. We still have a lot of things that we're working on, but as Andrew pointed out, there's ongoing training, ongoing things that we're doing for our colleagues to help them become better teachers. And then we're also working with our tutoring center and working on strategies that as this influx of students coming in to 100, and that's the open enrollment course, right, that anybody can get into, what can we do in the tutoring to help support them? And so we're working on strategies for that as well. And so this is just the beginning, and it'll keep changing as we see what is needed and what we can do to help students and what we can do to help faculty.
Thank you. Any more questions? No?
Great report.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Well, thank you.
Okay. Now I just
I look forward to hearing what's happening in the future when you reassess.
awesome.
As somebody who used to teach 49 and 50, and
You are
Yes.
one of our former.
Got it.
I
Yes.
appreciate you.
that's great. Thank you so much. Okay, so we are now up to 5.4 association reports. And I think we have Student Senate activity report first. Am I forgetting something?
5.3.
Oh, I am, sorry. I am.
Good evening, and
Good evening.
thank you for this opportunity to provide an update on the status of our pool project. I have our facilities director, Judy Lanchester, here, and our director of purchasing contracts and risk management, Dorothy Pimentel, here. So I'm going to give you just some overall context of what the process of completing a capital outlay project in the community college system and also K-12 for what it's worth. And then Judy and Dorothy are going to fill in the specifics on our pool project. So I don't know if you know this about me, but I used to be the director of facilities at the California Community College's Chancellor's Office. And a capital outlay project takes 3 to 5 years, and it's not unusual for them to take as long as 8 years. The design and planning phase typically takes 1 to 2 years, and 1 is the exception. So part of the problem is that community colleges and K-12, we are not subject to local planning department jurisdictions. We go through the division of the state architects, so that means our designs have to go through DSA to be approved before we can go out to bid on a project. So that does add time to a project. Typically, if DSA is not, overly impacted, we would plan 6 months on a project. Smaller projects might get through a little quicker, but 4 to 6 months, but a substantial project would be definitely 6 months. However, there have been many large bond projects approved throughout the state of California for both K-12 and community college districts. And so DSA is somewhat inundated with plans because it doesn't matter if a project is totally funded with local funds, the plans still go through the Division of State Architect for approval. So the other issue is that this project is, of course, being handled through insurance. And so, and actually, we have two insurance companies because the estimated cost of the project is beyond the cost of our primary, what the coverage of our primary insurance. And so the reinsurance insurer has to agree on the cost also. So additionally, when a facility is impacted and you have to go in, even if you remodel or you're doing a small upgrade, there's a certain point at which code requirements kick in. So you can do very small things, but if you're doing anything that is substantial, you're going to have to bring certain things up to code in that building. So in the case of the pool, the pool mechanicals and the pool are not thought of as the project. It's the pool mechanicals, the pool, the men's locker room, and the women's locker room. And DSA is in charge of access, fire, life safety, and structural, and they have deemed that we have to do certain items for to bring up to code compliance. So that adds a whole other layer of complexity and time onto the project. And then finally, once projects are approved by DSA, we don't get to just skip out and call, someone down the street and say, hey, can you come fix our mechanicals? We actually have to go through the public bidding process per the public contract code. So I know that, that process takes time, and I know it's very frustrating to walk by an empty pool and kind of go, it hasn't changed in 3 months. And the bottom line is it can't change until we have agreement with the insurance company on the scope, and then we have agreement with DSA. We've got stamp plans, and then we go out to bid, and then we can start construction. So I'm going to leave the rest of this to Judy and Dorothy. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Good evening. It's our pleasure to present this tonight. I'm actually quite grateful to Abe for bringing this up because we are right at the juncture where we have a lot of information to share on this. We're going to provide a little bit of history on the damage of the pool and insurance information, the response during the recovery phase, and also the planning schedule, all along with moving people back into these buildings and bringing the pool back online. The thought process was moving into this as quickly as we could to bring the community and the students and the staff back to this pool.
June
17th. June 17th.
2018.
Does this not work?
I don't know.
I am clicker challenged, Graciela.
Yeah, that makes 2 of us.
I had to turn it on.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Well, she took it back.
Okay.
All right, so for the insurance, so VIP JPA has established a $5,000 deductible. We have a property limit of $600 million. ASKIP retains the first $1 million. So as Susan mentioned, we have to deal with an reinsurer in addition to working with ASKIP. So the reinsurer in this incident is Thornton Tomasita and Associates.
To the history of the buildings and the storage unit and the pool mechanicals that were damaged, these are some slides that we provided to the board, I believe, last July. We had broken glass, doors, lights. The utilities needed to be evaluated, remediation and cleanup of the muriatic acid and chlorine. So if you will imagine for a moment, the chlorine dispersed and every book inside of the library needed to be cleaned. So we went to great lengths to clean these facilities up. And the educational components, the classes needed to be relocated, and also alternate facilities provided for some of those areas. And this is some of the additional places that were
were damaged.
So this is a view of, after the incident occurred, this is the area between the pool and the gymnasium. So we have the chlorine canisters there. This is a before of the pool mechanicals, and then on the right-hand side is after. We have more views of the damage done to the men's physical education building. And then this is another view of the pool mechanicals. So you can see where in the other picture where you had the canisters in the alleyway, this is where they were sitting. The right shows after the incident occurred. Just another view. So this is, and men's PE took the brunt of the damage, as did the athletic training room. The windows were, as Judy mentioned, the windows were broken out in the library, the gymnasium, women's PE, and the physical education offices as well. And so that's where, so we had not only the library, we had all these other buildings that had to be cleaned in addition to this. And then we had broken doors from the gymnasium. So it was, the blast had caused significant damage to our facilities.
After we reviewed the areas, we moved into the response recovery pool timeline for getting these buildings back online from June to July. And I'm hitting just the highlights of the action items that took place at Central Services and at MJC to bring these facilities back online. And within each one of these action items, there's many, many steps that have to take place to have those items put back into place. The hazmat samples were taken and initial meetings for the cleanup were done. Evaluation of the pool mechanicals, the buildings themselves had to be reviewed from a structural component. Various meetings took place with regards to cleanup of the facilities, power restorations. The inspections went on for quite a period of time during this timeline because the electrical, the water, the gas, and the alarm systems were all shut down. So we went on fire watch at one point where security comes by and watches these areas. And of course, we began discussions with DSA very early on because we wanted them to understand this had to be a priority project to get the community and the students back into these pools. From August through October, we brought the buildings back online. We were able to get students and staff back into the library, the gym, the PE offices, and the women's PE buildings. The men's PE building came on a little later. We arranged temporary showers for them, restrooms, locker rooms in certain areas of the campus so they would be able to run their football programs and some of their other sporting and athletic events. Work with the insurance companies continued. The utilities were restored during this timeline, and again, discussions with DSA. From October through March 15th, we continued repairs and the development of the scope. So we started to look at the pool project and say, what do we want to see this look like when we're done? We also began the evaluation process of, does it make sense to bring this pool up back online and then take it offline 2 years later to repair the plaster and the decking material? Didn't make sense, and it definitely doesn't make sense from a monetary value or for disruption for athletics and the community. We had meetings in Sacramento with DSA where we went up and we discussed this project again at length with them and had an understanding they would put this project in priority for us. And we had insurance company reviews with the architects. They gave us approval to begin drawing the plans during this timeline. We also had some vandalisms in some of the buildings that was rectified during this timeline.
Communication. So we began communicating with the college and everyone else June 21st, and we continued as we show here. ASKIP was notified, as well as our claims administrator, of the day of the incident. There's been a lot of communication between MJC, the consultants, the insurance companies, the reinsurer, emergency agencies, and the state. Communication became minimal after February 8th because we went into the planning and drawing phase.
I do want to say that that communication with MJC leadership and also faculty, I think there was a faculty member, a dean, was critical because what we did was we divided up the responsibilities. So we focused on, one, making sure that the district, that the college knew exactly where we were in this process. We asked the college for their priorities. They made their priorities clear, which was the buildings, because they had to be open by school, and then they also prioritized the buildings. But then they handled the communication part. You know, we sometimes drafted things, but they would handle, you know, reaching out to their community, both the college and beyond. So it was critical that we all understood where we were at any given time, because we couldn't have people kind of going off script, and it worked out very, very well for the project.
Thank you, Dr. Yeager. We're going to review increment 1 and increment 2, and we're going to spend a little bit of time here because we need to understand the importance of why we broke this out into 2 increments. Increment 1 contains the ADA components that were required by DSA. The reason why we broke them into 2 categories is the most difficult part in the negotiations with the insurance company. It also affords us the opportunity to have 1 to 4 years to complete this component, at the same time taking increment 2. If we needed to bid these 2 sections differently, we could move on with increment 2 and get folks back into the pool as quickly as possible. Because again, that is our goal, to get them back there as quickly as possible. The increment 1 provides path of travel improvements into parking lots, into the buildings themselves. Many of the older buildings have lips and they are not ADA compliant. New rules and regulations with regards to lighting, toilets, sinks inside of restrooms all change and are part of this when we touch a building. If they're grandfathered in, it's different. What their status quo is status quo, but once we touch the buildings, we have to alter them. Increment 2 is the scope to put the pool back. So in this, we're looking at the mechanical piping, we're looking at the plastering, the decking material, the water, the domestic water systems. All of this piece will be done in increment 2. Again, we're hoping to bid them together, because if we do, we have a cost savings on mobilization and also an efficiency. Well, that's a mouse. That's not going to help me. On the NGC planning pool timeline, again, I want to reiterate, this is the best case scenario because we are going into a negotiations phase, but I do want to take us through this process. On April 10th, the reinsurer received the schematic drawings from the architect. On April 12th, we updated the chancellor and the reinsurer completed their review. On April 16th, increment 1 was sent to DSA, and we also updated the MJC College president. On April 18th, we took the time to make sure that increment 2 got in there nice and safely, because this is the bigger part of our project. And this time period between the time that it's in review, we're also going to be working with the insurance company to receive approval to move these projects forward when we talk about the scope and the cost on them. It's really important to note that the claims need to be reviewed by the claims adjuster, the reinsurer, and the claims administrator. On April 26th, DSA was true to their word. They approved increment 1 in 10 days for us. They did put that as a priority, and we're very appreciative of that. I believe the hard work that we did in the beginning, talking to them and working with them, helped us through this process, and I think it's going to help us in increment 2 as well. On May 6th, we met with the athletic director and reviewed the plans with him and received some feedback and information on things that are important to him on that pool deck. On May 16th, we're going to be meeting with the physical education staff. We are going to be reviewing plans with them. Please understand, they will not get a copy of the plans. Nobody will, because in public contract bidding, nobody gets the plans until they go out to everybody. On June 12th, in June 2019, we're hoping that we have the comment period back where the architect can take the comments from DSA and put those into the design elements of the plan. So this means if a door has to be moved to another location, all of those drawings have to be changed within the documents and then resubmitted to DSA for approval. It is during this time that, again, the insurance company may say, we're not paying for that portion, and negotiation goes back and forth between DSA, the insurance company, and Central Services to try and push this project forward. In August, we hope to have approved DSA documents that will be able to move into the bidding phase. In October, we will be awarding the construction documents, and the contracts take a bit of time to formulate and then also record. And hopefully in November, we'll go into construction with completion around May of 2020.
And then I just really want to stress that we are dealing with 2 insurance companies. So everything that's being done has to be ran past them. So this is all a best case scenario, and we hope for the best. I stay in constant communication with the insurance company, so I'm be calling them every day to get this moving forward. Do you have any questions?
One more thing, we are constrained on what we can do with the project because an insurance company replaces like for like. We are trying to not have the CO2 canister system, so we are working on that. The cost, if there's a cost differential, the district will have to pay for that. But in terms of, you know, people might say, well, you know, it'd be so much better if we had XYZ. The district would have to have those funds. So we do have to, you know, stick with the what we have, but where we can make differences, we are going to. And then we do have, just as a reminder, that additional, if you will, scheduled maintenance project that we decided to do now, which is to replaster the pool and do some repairs to the concrete. That's all in increment 2. And in our judgment, that's better than emptying the pools 2 years from now and doing it then.
Absolutely.
Well, I have a question related to what you said, and it's related to what you said. What are the guesstimates of cost out of pocket to our district? What is the gamut or?
About 1.1 million at this time for the replastering the cantilever deck.
And then that's a hopeful amount, assuming.
Include the cost incurred?
It does not include the insurance costs.
No.
That's just our portion.
That's what I wanted to know,
Yes,
our portion.
yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you for the report, and I appreciate that. I think what the public needs to understand is that we had 2 priorities, and the first one was to get students back into the classroom. And consequently, that kind of just went over everybody's head, other than ours, of course. But, and so the concern, I think, was that the pool itself is not being able to be used by the public, and that's not really our first priority. So I think some way, if we could write an op-ed or a news release or something that give a summary of
Actually,
what we've gone through.
Right,
I think it would
Modesto,
ease the pain a little bit.
Modesto B interviewed me a couple of weeks ago, is that correct? And we did share information with them, not to this length or this information, of course,
Right,
but
cool.
we did share
Pictures of the
information.
pool is what more people are interested in, that
Yeah.
I've spoken to anyway, that have contacted me.
But I would like to congratulate MJC because they have moved all of their community education classes and all their physical education classes. They found pool locations for everybody. So they are working very, very hard and diligently to keep these classes and these community efforts open.
Well, I also want to add,
That goes unnoticed by the general public.
Modesto
Yes.
City Schools has been amazing.
Wonderful. Yeah.
And I do work directly with their facilities person, and so as they get their invoices, they're sending them directly to me, and I'm sending them to the claims administrator and then the adjuster, and so we're trying to get them paid in a timely manner. But they have been so helpful and helping, giving our students other opportunities.
Do we know how many people just use the pool for free time that weren't part of a class, but just used it during free time to swim laps and?
Actually, the pool is only used for instructional purposes. So it's either you're enrolled in a MJC class, swimming or diving, or you're in a community education class.
Oh,
We
okay.
established that many years ago.
It's also being used by the swim clubs.
Yeah, so, and
thought
then
there were
so
people who-
MAC, okay, so Blue Tide Aquatics and MAC are part of community education. So they register through them, they run their program is actually run through community ed, and then they schedule the pool for their use.
I think that's where a majority of our concerns.
Yes, we do, yeah. MAC uses the pool several times throughout the day, Monday through Saturday. It used to be 5 or 7 days a week. And so to help get so we could have clean the pool, we took them down just to 6 days a week.
Yeah.
Thank you,
there's-
and I would appreciate if we can, give us even some minute update, even if it's just in writing that we could share.
We can do
as
that.
a board.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
that would be
It doesn't
great,
have to
every
be
couple
a-
months, just so.
It doesn't have to be a big old
Sure.
paragraph or so that says, here's how we're proceeding.
Happy to do that.
Yeah.
Yes,
Thank you
yes.
again.
Okay, so for the swim classes, there is no cost to the district. Modesto City Schools is only charging us for the custodial time. And so then we're billing that directly to the insurance company. The insurance company will continue to cover those fees until the pool mechanicals are back online.
Great.
So no cost then.
There's no cost to
I
us.
think this is
Glad to know
good
that.
time to look at that contract again. I think,
ASCIP,
my own personal opinion, but
yeah, ASCIP does a lot for us. We have access to a lot of consultants at no cost. Their services, what we pay for their services, we get back tenfold in opportunities that comes to no cost to us. And I want to say we've probably saved about $75,000 on using their consultants for training purposes on these campuses.
yeah, I don't know what our liability that we require from them for insurance, but I know we had an incident a while back where one of the backboards fell on somebody's head, and so I just don't know how much now we're asking them to put up as a liability insurance. So maybe we can look at that.
We are actually coming back up on our renewal period. I'm working with ASCIP on that. And that will be coming up in the June meeting.
June.
It used to be $1 million was enough, but I know even when I left my position years ago, I upped it to $5 million. And
I believe between ASCIP and SELF, I want to say that we have $600 million in property liability.
I know that, but
And then I believe we have, I think SELF was $55 million, and then ASCIP. So
I know that. What I'm saying though is that the individual renter of the facility would put up a liability insurance.
I understand, and we'll check into that, what the renters are required, and also, what the fees are and when the last time there was updated per I'm not going to remember the name of the act, but there is an act about how these fees should be set. So we can take a look.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so now we're at 5.4. Do we have the Student Senate activity report with Michaela Ramirez? How do you say your name? Okay.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Michaela Ramirez. It is both an honor and a pleasure to stand before you all tonight. I'm not your typical student body president. When I started MJC, I was just surviving and not sure if I would stay. Everything in my life changed for the better when I joined ASMJC. ASMJC has become my family, and serving our fellow students is our passion. Last year, as an ASMJC executive, I saw both the best and worst that MJC employees and students have to offer. Today, I stand before you as only the 15th female and only the 5th Latina ASMJC president in 97 years of ASMJC. I am excited to get to know all of you, my fellow students, and work for the students to create equity, inclusiveness, and the best student experience. I owe everything to this college. I have gone from not thinking I could make it through my first semester to now planning on transferring out at the end of this year. Lastly, I would like to thank Nanibra Mansour for her service as the student trustee. Thank you all for allowing your time for us to come to you. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we have academic senate reports? I know Curtis said he didn't really have a report tonight, but I didn't know if we had another. Okay. LTAC. Welcome back, Jillian.
All right, good evening. I just have a few items. First, I'm going to congratulate Dr. B, who received the Columbia College Leadership Award at the end of the academic year. And it was presented at the end of year picnic. It's voted on by all the employees, and apparently there were a lot of nice comments from staff, so congratulations. Next, the leadership team funds 2 student scholarships annually, one for Columbia College and one from MJC, and the Columbia College scholarship is awarded to a student at the end of the academic year. This year, there was an opportunity to give out 2 scholarships, though, because Brandon Price miraculously won the raffle at the ACA conference up in Sacramento, and the prize is a $500 scholarship for the college. So 2 scholarships were given out. One was presented to Callista Fields Richardson, who is 18 and a business admin major. She earned a 4.0 her first year as a full-time student. And she is a student leader with the Associated Students. And then due to Brandon's raffle award, another student, Kristen Leventhal, who is also a business admin major with a 4.0 GPA, and a returning student working full-time in housekeeping at Hetch Hetchy and raising teenagers, was awarded a $500 scholarship. So both were $500 scholarships. The foundations at both colleges help us in the process in terms of screening applications and helping with selection. Next, Brandon and I will be the team. Gina, this is mostly for you, who will be working with Gina and Henry in a review of the handbook over the summer. So it's our summer project. And a survey will soon go out to the membership for input. And then finally, both colleges celebrated graduation last week. And so the Leadership Team Advisory Council would like to thank all administrators, especially those in facilities, security, and student services, and other areas who spent, some of them, up to 15 to 16 hours a day in order to make those events truly wonderful. So just a thanks. Any questions?
Thank you very much. All right. Up next is YFA with Shelley.
Well, good evening, everyone. I am 8 days old today as YFA president. And I'm not texting my husband. I have my notes for you on my phone, so, okay.
Good to know.
Just seemed kind of bulky to have my tablet up here, so this seemed a little easier. Well, here's my first report to you. Hopefully, I will keep it brief and others will also be brief. YFA held its first annual celebration on the 19th of April out in Oakdale at the Jean Bianchi Center. We felt it was appropriate to close down a tough season with a party. So we did that in hopes for larger parties and more fun together as we shut down this last round of negotiations. So that was a good kickoff for us as a union. Graduation was wonderful last week. Faculty were happy to be there. It was great to see you folks there. And it just was a good time to celebrate students. It's always fun. Our speaker was phenomenal, our student speaker. He just did a fantastic job. And I thought he really captured our purpose as a community college. He did a fantastic job. Well, I attended my first Triple CI conference in San Francisco a couple of weeks ago. I was able to connect with other independent faculty union leaders, and I've learned about some pending legislation, and I got to connect with some members of the YFA team as well. So that was a good time, a great learning experience for me. I recently joined FAC, and we're looking to bring them on campus to also have other faculty considered becoming a part of FACT, which is the Faculty Association of California Community Colleges. It's just to broaden everybody's exposure to other issues and give them another avenue to participate with their colleagues. I got to attend your board retreat, which was fun. Thank you for the invitation. I enjoyed sharing with you about Clifton Strength Finders, and I'm hopeful that we'll be using that on our YFA team as well. It's just a great tool to develop individuals, leadership skills, team skills, and so I'm looking forward to doing that as well with the YFA team. A quick update on class capacity. Friday is the deadline for everyone to get their work in, and we have negotiations set for the 21st to finalize whatever we have not finalized before then. So we'll know more here in about a week. Over the last few weeks, I've been able to get with and meet with Chancellor Young. I've also been able to meet with Jim, and I'm planning to come up to Columbia very, very soon. I've met with the VPIs, and so I've been out there trying to, get a lay of the land with a different lens. I'm going to be scheduling regular meetings with Senate presidents, with the college presidents, and just trying to really foster some ongoing relationships. I'm looking forward to getting together with you folks and getting to know you better and you getting to know me better. So I thought maybe I should share some goals. It's only been 8 days, so I don't really know yet. I'm doing a lot of thinking, though. But I will say one of our primary goals is to implement the TA successfully. We have a lot of work to do before fall, and to do that in a collaborative and healthy way. So that's my primary goal. I also do want to recognize a member of the district staff, Jennifer Wellens, in payroll. Well, that whole payroll team is just amazing, and but I really want to recognize her. She has been so accessible and helpful. We have a lot of things to work out, and they're working super hard, and we recognize that. She's just done a great job working with us collaboratively, problem solving, and so I just want to recognize her and her team because she's done a fabulous, fabulous job, and it takes a lot of worry, I think, off of faculty minds as lots of work to be done around, payroll and corrections and things like that. So, but I feel like faculty feel very confident in her and her staff, which is good because then they can be about the business that faculty should be about, which is teaching and working on projects and things like that. So I just wanted to give a good shout out to that payroll team. They're doing great. And I also wanted to thank you folks for hosting the coffee hours at the colleges and the presidents and Henry for doing that. I'm hopeful that it'll gained some traction. I was glad to be a part of it today. I'm looking forward to more to come there. So thanks for coming out and being a part of the community. We really appreciate that. So that's my first 8-day report. I'll be back in June. You have any
Thank you.
questions for me?
Thank you very much. Okay, so Sherry told me she wasn't going to be here tonight, and I don't see her, so she was right. And Alan McKissick is also obviously not here tonight.
Yeah,
So-
I spoke with him today, and he's going on a long-awaited vacation.
Yes,
Leaving early in the morning.
yes.
I won't tell you where he's going, but there's a big tower that goes way.
Oh, okay. Okay. Oh, everybody there is there but us. Something's wrong with this. Okay, so I think then we are up to 5.5. Is that correct? All right, Columbia College, Dr. B.
Good evening, everybody. So good to be here after our 50th graduation ceremony. Thank you, Trustee Biggs. Thank you, Trustee Margin, Balkin, for being there. This was a very significant milestone for our college, not only because it was the 50th graduation for us, but it was the largest graduation that happened, largest number of students participated. And the students broke down a very long-standing, age-old tradition in academia. Typically, the students and faculty members are only marching along in that graduation procession. This was the first time the students initiated this, that why not classified staff or somebody else who has participated in their college journey be allowed to participate. And this was the college campus came together. It was a very inclusive decision that we decided that yes, anyone should be allowed to walk with the students. And quite a few of our classified staff participated. So that was great. It's kind of breaking down the tradition. And these are our future leaders. They're showing their leadership right now. Also on the same day, we had that great end of the year party. That was a vibrant event with everybody coming together. We had some food, we had some celebrations. Brian and I had the fun of wearing some hats. I wish I had the pictures. Those were nice floral hats. I never thought I would be wearing those kind of floral hats in my life. And on the same day, we also had a picture taken of all the employees standing on Simon's Field in the shape of 50 to commemorate our 50th anniversary. Thank you, Chancellor Young, for driving up on that day and taking that picture. I don't know if you have seen it, but you are quite prominent there in your suit and tie. You're the only one in that entire group wearing a suit and tie out there. At the time of writing this report, I wrote that summer enrollments are holding at the same level as last year. But this morning, when Brian was doing the analysis, we saw that our summer enrollments at this point of time is about a 5-year high. We have not seen these many enrollments at this point of time. Hope that would hold. And then when we think about it, that how this has happened, that our fall was higher, our spring held tight, our summer is probably coming higher, at a time where our high school enrollments or high school graduation is declining, our general population is declining. So this was made possible by a very strategic move by our 3 VPs out here. Kudos to Brian, Melissa, and Trevor, that the marketing activities that happened, plus also strategically shifting our focus onto the high schools and the collaboration between our instruction and student services, that has made it possible that we could hold on to it. Now, there was a kind of a credit sharing today, because Trevor sent out a postcard earlier this summer talking about come to Columbia College. So whether the credit goes there or the credit goes for our class offerings, but that's a healthy debate to have where the credit goes. Bottom line is we are getting some good enrollment. Chef Don Dickinson, he was recognized by Ptolemy County Department of Education for excellence on teaching. That was on April 23rd, and quite a few of us attended that dinner at Black Oak Casino. That was a great thing. And after the dinner, me and Chef Dickinson, somebody else, we just went out to the bar at Black Oak Casino to have a drink to celebrate it really. And the bartender who was serving us was a student in our program. So it's great to see our students serving there. And he served us 1 drink too many and said, hey, drink it up fast. I'm not supposed to give you 2 drinks at the same time.
Oh.
So that was kind of funny. One area of concern that it's kind of bothers me, and I want to bring this to the attention of the board also, is how do we keep on attracting top talent among our staff? Currently, our research office is vacant. Diana Sunday has retired, and we had Christian Million, who has come down to Modesto to be close to his home. And this really bothers me because there does not pass a couple of week period when I don't receive an email from somewhere in the state talking about some vacancy. It seems that higher education is losing a lot of talent from their pool. And we have to have an active strategy out there. How do we develop our people? How do we fill out those gaps? We do not want this to turn into a tsunami where I received one email, I think that was from Barstow. They're looking for all the 3 VPs at the same time. The cost to a campus, if you're operating without any VP, in terms of sheer number of loss of FTEs, number of damage to the students, that is huge. We cannot measure that in dollar terms. It's more of a morale, it's more of a campus activity. And I was very lucky with a very stable team of VPs, but now we are seeing some of those top ranks to be filled out, and I'm kind of skeptic. And we have to keep our minds open that how do we make our district attractive to the top talents in the state. That's about it from me.
Any questions? Nope. Okay. Dr. Hoopus.
Well, good evening. Last Friday was Modesto Junior College's 97th commencement. And while it was the college's 97th commencement, it was my first commencement as president. And without a doubt, it's a day I will remember forever. I was so proud of our students, proud of our faculty and staff, and coming to Modesto has been the best decision of my life. So thank you to all that made that day special for me as well as for the students. I want to give a special thanks to Sherry Suarez and Brian Justin Marks. Take a bow, Brian, I mean, to the rest of us, it was a flawless event and smooth event, but it doesn't happen without good leadership like Sherry's and Brian's to make it happen. And Brian, I didn't realize you could run that fast. It was pretty impressive. Great leadership. Thank you to both of you, but also thank you to the commencement committee, the facilities team from the district, and the district's campus safety for all their hard work to make the event flawless. Also, a special thanks to the trustees Aguilar, Garrett, and Rojas, as well as Chancellor Young for their participation in the commencement, handing out diplomas. Came in big help because my ability to stand was somewhat limited by my boot. So thank you all. Not only was it the 97th commencement, it was also our largest commencement. We had over 700 students in attendance. So it was a proud moment for the college. We had almost 10,000 total attendance, so it was a large crowd. Great event. Also, I want to kudos to the faculty, that there were 100 faculty there as well that formed the typical tunnel. And I can't tell how much I appreciate the faculty to be there to celebrate the day. It provides that special sense of a celebration. And so kudos to the faculty and the staff that were there as well. The next point is the college is in the process of interviewing new faculty hires, as well as we're initiating 2 searches for the VP of Student Services and the VP for Administrative Services. The VPSS is further along than the other one, but we hope to have both positions filled by the end of summer. In terms of grants, the California Community College Chancellor's Office and the California Department of Education sent us an intent to award both MJC and its partner, Stanislaus County of Education, for their grant in the K-12 Strong Workforce Program. They had the title of Central Valley Career Collaborations and Navigation, and we were awarded $3.6 million. So congratulations to all. Also, in terms of athletics, the Big 8 Conference Awards were just released, and 3 Modesto Junior College baseball players and the head baseball coach all received recognition. Sean Gidrich was named the first team all-conference infielder. Freshman offensive player of the year also was Sean Gidrich. Tanner Shears was named first team all-conference relief pitcher. Blaine Abayeta was named first team all-conference starting pitcher, and our coach earned Big 8 Conference Co-Chair of the Year honors. So kudos to our baseball team. And last but not least, I'm starting my semester meetings with the student government, and I want to make sure our students have a stronger voice on campus. And our meeting was, I thought, was a very great meeting and informative. So we'll keep that going as well. So that's my report.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Okay. Chancellor Young?
Thank you. I want to begin my remarks this evening by acknowledging the work of the faculty, the staff, and the administration for the two great commencement ceremonies that took place at both MJC and Columbia. And of course, our goal as colleges and the district is to provide an educational pathway for graduates, and I know they will move on, either transfer or go out into the world of employment. So thank you for the work that you have done to help our students attain their goals. And next, I want to mention that the two colleges have received the accreditation update report. It's very positive. And so for the district's portion, the district has met the standards for the two recommendations that we were cited. And so again, my thanks to everyone who had help, administrators, staff, and faculty who have contributed to the success at both colleges and the district. Time flies, and this year is almost over. And this is the last board meeting for Ninebra Mansour, our student trustee. We thank her for her service as a student trustee. We appreciate her time and the effort that she has put in to participate and represent the students. She represents not only the students at MJC, but also the students from Columbia. So we wish her the very best as she continues her study. And this evening, we just want to show our appreciation with a little token. So if I might present this plaque to Nebra. The California legislature recognizes the contribution of classified staff to the extent that they have designated a week as classified employees a week. So for us, we celebrate that during the third full week of May. So from May 19 to the 25th, we want to honor our classified staff. There are 5 different receptions being announced at different locations for all of us to attend and be able to thank our classified colleagues. So some are over at MJC East, MJC West, the district office, Columbia. So we hope that you'll be able to make it to one of those events to at least be able to thank our classified colleagues. The Spirit Award, the folks in Central Services, work over here, and sometimes, they feel that, over here, somewhat detached. Well, some years ago, a group of folks in Central Services got together, and we thought of bringing together everyone with the Spirit Awards. And now it's time for that. So I'm asking for the employees, Central Services, to submit your nomination. The nomination deadline, of course, is June 5th. And finally, there is a YCCD All Campus Summer Employees event that will be June 27th. It's a little bit of ways, but it's good to get the date out there. Thursday, and it'll be in the Ag Pavilion. So mark it on your calendar. There will be the YCCD All Campus Summer Employee Event. Right? Thank you. And that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. And I believe we're inviting Judy back up to do the bond update.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's see if I can get this.
I was almost there. Perfect, thank you so much. Okay. This evening, I have the pleasure of reporting to you out on the bond measures, and as you're aware of, we're starting to see fewer and fewer projects on this quarterly report. We're featuring El Capitan, Great Valley Nature Lab, and the Hospitality Lab renovation at this time. The El Capitan cladding project, or if you want for a better word, siding project on MJC West Campus, provides the building with ADA upgrades and also siding on the exterior of the building. The contractor began work this week on the ramp that's located on the east side of the building. They're going to begin demolition of the siding that's currently on the building on Fridays and Saturdays, as there's a small lead component to the paint. So we're doing that work during the weekends when no one is around. The MJC Great Valley Nature Lab is just about 99% complete. We have some punch items that we're still working on and some shade structures over the dig pits. The art that we're working on for that still hasn't been completed, but we're just about 99% completed on that. The building you see here is the greenhouse that is fully operational, and staff and instructional staff have started to put plants inside of the building now. The texture and component on the composites of these rocks were selected by MJC instructional staff for educational purposes. So I took some pictures of these rocks so you can see them along their meandering paths through this lab environment. Off to your left, you will see a sample of moss, also for identification purposes. Several moss samples were collected from certain rocks, and they did make it through. We had a great year for rain, so they were able to stay alive on these rocks for science experiments in the future. Off to the right is a log that was installed in the area to provide a frog habitat in this nature lab. The fencing around the nature lab is going to stay up through May 31st, and that's to protect the newly propagated plants and also to take care of the areas that still are soft from the spring rains. The hospitality lab renovation, these pictures were taken on April 18th. Currently, the demo has been completed, and they have sheetrock inside of this building, and they're starting to refill the trenches. The project's moving along well. We're starting to order equipment and looking towards cleaning out the equipment that's currently in the facility to put back. This is just another slide of that area. Future bond projects that are in various phases right now are the ACE Equipment Facility, Parking Lot 211, and for Columbia College, wayfinding and signage. The conceptual drawing of the ACE Equipment Facility provides just an overview of a metal structure that will be used for corral fencing and also farm implements. It's located to the west across the street from the ACE Pavilion. It's between the dairy unit and a fenced area, so it's one of those areas that's not really heavily utilized, but it will be in that location. Parking lot 211 is located east of the district office building across the road. It's the one that's just in front of Yosemite over here. It is a popular parking lot. For that reason, we are going to be taking it down in fall, but we'll be taking it down after the first month of school has commenced. What we saw last year when we were working on parking lot projects during the fall, that even when we had another parking lot down, the parking lot located to our left that contains over 600 parking spaces still had ample parking in that area. I believe it was Trustee Garrard that asked for the walkway or the crosswalk to be taken care of in front of, between the district out here at the lights. And when I reached out to the city of Modesto, this is not theirs to take care of, so I'm going to take the opportunity to have one mobilization for the contractor on site, and we're going to take care of this crosswalk. It's not a painted crosswalk, it's a plastic thermal type of system, and you have to have a specialized machine to put it down. So if you will pass on that message that we are going to take care of that, and I thank him for asking for that. Columbia College wayfinding has been discussed at Columbia for the last couple of years. Some of the concerns with it is that you get up to that campus and it's very difficult for pedestrian vehicular traffic to navigate that campus or to understand where you are. They're looking at 4 components of signage on that particular campus, and that is building signs, so room numbers, if you will, and also signs for the building on the outside, then identify the building, wayfinding to traverse the campus to the buildings that you're looking at, and also the possibility of street signs. The committee has met. There's 3 meetings that have taken place. We're working with the facilities team to produce some of the wooden signs to keep the costs down, and some of those will go into production over the summer. That completes my bond report. Is there anything that you might want to ask about this?
Any questions? I'm not speaking for anybody else, but just for myself, but for those who are interested, could we get a tour of the outdoor nature lab when it's 100% complete? Or, I mean, it looks really interesting to me.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe that Dr. Hoopus has been working with the dean over in that area, and they're talking about a ribbon cutting or some sort of event, but I'd be glad to host any of you anytime to take you out there and take a look at it.
Yeah, yes.
For information, so we've talked to Dean Mackey, and so there's been a slight delay in when it will finish. Once they get a concrete date for ribbon cutting, she'll let us know, and the Board of Trustees will know what date that is.
Great.
And you'll all be invited to the ribbon cutting.
Awesome. That's just to wander around and be fun.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Turned out very nice.
All right. Oh, okay, cool. I'll start sharpening my scissors. Yes.
I just have a comment. Thank you for that signage project at Columbia. That was very well needed. And Trevor has been working hard on that committee also. It was kind of good getting out of hands, but I think the collaboration between you, Trevor's team, and Jake, that has been excellent. That's
Thank
in
you.
good hands. Thank you.
That is nice, because when I go up there, I'm totally lost. So that helps, signs help.
Leslie?
Yes.
Or Chairman Banks?
It's okay. Leslie's good.
The Great Valley Museum that is over in that area is having a June 7th opening with that department as far as they're going to be doing Volunteer of the Year
Oh,
and everything. So I was going to bring that up later, but everyone is welcome to
okay.
come and see the Volunteer of the Great Valley Museum.
Do you know what time it is yet?
No, I don't remember. I think it was like 6 to 8, but I'm not positive.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. So let's see. So this is an information item. So we do not need to take a vote, if I understand correctly. Okay. So next we have 5.9, the grant activity update, correct? No? Okay. Right, okay. So we have this list, and that's it, right? Yeah, okay. So we are up to 6.1, and I believe I need to pull.
Want to just reference that or pull it?
I think we have to pull it because it has an amendment, right? Yeah, yeah. So we have to pull 6.13. Let me get to the right spot here.
So I'll move that we approve the agenda 6.1 to 6.12.
Okay, we can do that first.
I'll second that.
Okay, so that's seconded by Margie and moved by Abe. All right, so all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no or nay. I don't really care. Any abstentions? All right, so that motion carries. So then,
Before we go to the next one,
uh-huh.
I'd like to recognize Ken Fadak for 21 years of service as a maintenance plumber and welder. So that's 21 years.
That's impressive. Thank you very much. Were you saying something, Ann? Oh, your mic.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Do you want to say it again so it's in the recording?
If I can find it.
Oh,
No, I'm sorry. Ken Paddock, 21 years of service as maintenance lead for plumbing and welding.
congratulations to him. Thank you. Yeah, we have learned that if your mic isn't on, you're not in the recording, even if you're near other people's microphones. It's very sensitive. Okay, so there's a slight amendment on 6.13 for multiple measure 3, and I need to read that. It's for the third paragraph of multiple measure 3. And it says, the district's Human Resources Office, in order to attract the best applicants to our college, is currently working with the college's academic senates to jointly create language for job descriptions that relay the message that our colleges embrace diversity, inclusiveness, and is a leader in equity-mindedness. So that is it right there. And if I could have a motion to pass 6.13 as amended.
I move to pass 6.13 as improved by your amendment.
Thank you.
Second it.
Seconded by Nancy. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Any abstentions? Okay, so that motion carries also. All right.
Sorry, I didn't catch who made the first.
Ann, and then Nancy seconded it. Okay. So now if I can get to the end of the consent agenda. These handy little pink separators that I get from Graciela, they're these really subtle clues. End of consent agenda. Okay. So you are in place. Take over.
I am. Sorry, to keep things flowing. I was just trying to make sure I'm where I'm supposed to be.
You are.
So, before you this evening for discussion and approval is our third quarter quarterly financial report that's required by the state chancellor's office. So this is the activity through March 31st. And what you can see in section 1 is we report the revenues and expenditures as well as the fund balance and our projections for the current year activity. So you have the adopted budget and then the annual current budget, which you did do an amendment back in April, but we went ahead and incorporated that into into this quarterly report. We have our actuals. Our revenue is looking at about $76 million in actuals year-to-date through March, and then our expenditures are at about $80 million. But we are projecting that we will receive 100% of the funding as of March, and that we will spend 100% of our expenditures. As I'm sure you guys are well aware, we have the flux of what's going on with our state funding formula right now. So until we have more information about that and how it's going to impact our funding for this year, we're still projecting that we're going to receive everything. So for section 2, you will see that we did report our FTS at 16,012. That is our FTS that we are projecting for the current year. It's our actuals. Please understand that it is lower by the 333 FTS that we reported back in 17-18. So the plan moving forward is that we will not be pushing and pulling or rolling back. You've heard that term with our FTS. So if we had been able to start at the starting line this year, we are projecting that we actually would have achieved 16,345 FTS. So that's good. Our cash balance in section 3 is showing $29 million. So we have a strong cash position. And in section 4, you'll see that we actually had to report, yes, that we settled a contract in this quarter. We settled our faculty union contract, so we have to show that in the activity that's happening in section 4 on this report. So you'll see that we have shown the cost of the faculty agreement for both permanent and for temporary, as well as the fringe benefits associated with those. And in the descriptions, we tried to make sure that we described what the agreement was. So the 2% retro back to 17-18, the compression, the 4, the 2. So we tried to really spell it out so that whoever at the chancellor's office has the pleasure of reviewing all these, that they saw that how it all worked out. It also talks about our increase for the health benefit cap. So we make sure that we discuss in there, as well as the other one-time costs associated with the faculty agreement, the reimbursements for medical, and the one-time off-schedule payment. So we've included that in there. We did not have any significant events in terms of any issuance of long-term debt, so we put no for that, and we also put no for the district having significant fiscal problems. So those first 2 pages are the standard report that goes to the state chancellor's office. But for internal purposes, on page number 3, we also show the quarterly financials a little bit differently to break it out a little bit more. So you can see that for our state apportionment, we have received 68%, which is right in line with our third quarter at this time last year. Our other state revenues are up slightly from last year. And our non-resident tuition, we have received about $730,000 this year for our non-resident tuition fees. Interest has gone up, and as I described to our board finance committee, it's certainly not because our county treasury is all of a sudden increasing those rates for the interest rates, but it's because we have that strong cash position that we've been able to receive more on our interest. Again, you won't see anything for the CalSTRS on behalf revenue or expenses until year end, because that's a journal entry that we do, and it's calculated based off of the total payroll for our STRS employees. So that's not done until about the July timeframe and posted back to June. Expenditures are trending similar to last year. And for our transfers out and contingencies, you'll see that we still have some funds left in there. If you recall, for the amended budget, we still had $2.3 million set aside. That was initially going to go out to the colleges in one-time initiative activities, but because of what's going on with the state and the funding formula, we had to make the decision to hold that back. But if it comes to fruition that, you know, the state can fund us everything, then the plan is to certainly reserve that and kick it back out to the colleges as originally planned. Any questions? Thank you.
No? Okay. So I am required to open a public hearing. So if you have any comments or questions, this is just a formality, I think. But anyway, the public hearing is open. Everybody is trying to get up to the microphone, I can see. Okay. So no questions, no comments. Public hearing is closed. And then I need a motion to accept the report and submit it to the state.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Okay,
I'll second that.
all right. So Tony made the first, Margie made the second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. I'm assuming there's no abstentions, so the motion is carried. Okay. Yes.
I just want to thank you for staying behind and help me understand all those numbers. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Okay, so now we're up to 7.2, Modesto Junior College Vision Goals. Do we have any questions to be directed to Dr. Hoopus? No? Okay. Then the recommended action is that we approve the college vision goals that are aligned with the Chancellor's Office Vision for Success as attached to the agenda. Okay. Do I have a motion to approve? Okay. So Abe and then Nancy. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Any abstentions? Motion carries. All right, next we have the Columbia College local goals aligned with the Chancellor's Office Vision for Success.
So moved.
Okay, great. Margie and Nancy, I think?
Yes.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. No abstentions, motion carries. All right, so now we're up to 7.4, the Columbia College Student Equity Plan. Do we have any questions? They are to be directed to Dr. Sanders. If we do we have any questions? No? All right, then the motion, I need a motion to approve the plan as it is attached to the agenda.
So moved.
So Nancy,
I'll second that.
Margie is the second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Motion carries. All right. We are now up to 7.5, the CCAP agreements, the second reading. The recommended action is that we conduct a second reading, take comments from the public, and approve the plan. So are there any questions or comments?
I have a comment, not from the
Okay.
public. I'm just pleased to
Count.
see that these agreements, we have something with Amador County because they are in no man's land. So I'm really proud of you for doing that. And don't forget to ask State Chancellor for extra money because you're doing it.
Good
He
idea.
wants all students to be served, and nobody serves Amador County. So I think
That's right.
Thank you. And the credit really goes to Brandon and Melissa and her team. They have really done an excellent job in going into those areas.
good for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so I need a motion to approve and direct staff to file a copy with the
So
State
moved.
Chancellor's Office. Okay, Ann and Nancy, all in favor, have made the motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Too quick.
Hey, you snooze, you lose.
Okay, so what are we up to? 7.6 as we're breezing through here. Second reading. Am I right? Okay.
Yes, you're right.
Okay, we're going so fast, I'm, like
Hi
whiplash.
up here.
Hi, Kim.
Good evening, board members, Chancellor Young, cabinet members. Before you have a second reading, 2 items. First, with policy 2710, conflict of interest. We made those recommended changes from the last meeting. We have hyperlinks to the FPPC website as well as to their Title II regulations. Beyond that, the Board Policy Committee at their Monday meeting did not have any additional revisions. So unless you have any questions for us for 2710. Okay, moving on to 2712, Conflict of Interest Code. Now this one, there was a recommendation previously to make revisions to the titles on pages, in the administrative procedure on pages 9 and 10. Unfortunately, the Board Policy Committee was informed that the FPPC is the governing authority to make those particular changes. They review our district's organizational charts and the job descriptions for those positions. And upon that review, they then come up with a code. And that code is changed by them. So the Board Policies Committee's recommendation is to the full board to go ahead and approve Policy 2712 as it stands before you right now, because that will update the gift limit that has been incorporated by the FPPC, as well as the changes that are going to be coming forward once we do request a review from the FPPC will be done in the administrative procedure. And based on Policy 2410, the chancellor has been delegated the authority to make those revisions, and then he will then present that to the board as an informational item. So are there any other questions for 2712?
Okay. All right. So should we, let's see. So that's our second reading?
That's the concludes your second reading, yes.
Okay. So I need an action to approve the second reading.
So moved.
Okay, so Ann is the first, Nancy's the second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. All right. Motion carries. So now we're up to first readings.
First readings. All right, so now you
7.7.
have 8 items before you for first reading. Starting with 2015 student member. This is a policy that is annually required to be annually reviewed by the district. And the policy committee did not have any recommended revisions. So if you have any comments, then we can address them now. Okay. Next, we have 5200, which is student health services, and at each of your places, I've placed the recommended revisions from the Board Policy Committee that are found in red, bold font. You'll notice that there are no recommended revisions to the board policy. However, to the administrative procedure, they're recommending that on page 2, line 14, that we strike through the words uses to and add an S to the word determine. So the new sentence would read, health appraisal of the student, a process by which the nurse determines the health status of the student and develops a plan with the student to promote health, education, and wellness in the student. Beyond that, there were no additional recommendations for revisions.
And we thank our English teacher that serves on the committee.
Thank you, Chair Beggs.
Okay. So thank you very much. The first reading, we just conducted it and there's no other action required. So
There is one additional that it's not before you. There was an additional recommendation on policy 5420, Associated Student Finance /Fund. The recommendation was to change in the administrative procedure on page 3, line 14, to strike through the word typed and add the word generated. However, we have found out that these associated students still use an internal form, which is separate from the district's electronic requisition forms. So they will still be typing. So we cannot make that change to that particular thing. So that's not before.
We can live with that. All right, so we're done?
That's it.
Well, I'd just like to say that the committee does recommend that we approve this first reading, but I want to give a really big thank you to Kimberly because you're stepping in and, we didn't really ask you if you wanted to, and you're doing just great.
Yes.
So thank you. Yes.
Okay. So I believe We're up to board comments. So, since this is your last time in Ibra, why don't we start with you? And thank you so much for your year with us.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Good evening, everyone. Since our last board meeting, I have attended monthly ASMJC Senate meetings and regular meetings with Chancellor Young. I also had the opportunity to volunteer at Cram Night and at graduation, which turned out amazing, by the way. And that's pretty much it for my report. But I just want to take this time to say thank you for allowing me the opportunity to be able to serve. I have really enjoyed my time as student trustee, and I'm honored to have been able to represent students from both colleges. When I began my educational journey at MJC, I never expected that I'd get to sit beside and learn from the YCCD board members, and I'm so humbled and thankful for the experience. I have definitely learned a lot, and I never could have anticipated the lessons and guidance I have received over the course of this past year. I count myself very lucky for the opportunity and will take away everything I have learned. While it feels bittersweet to say goodbye, I will never forget this amazing time in my life. Thank you. And thank you for the plaque.
Okay, Nancy?
Okay. I was going to welcome those that were newly elected with YFA, but it looks like they've left. So this last month, I attended the roundtable, and I was going to also say a big thank you to Shelley from the English department, who did a beautiful representation of MJC at that event, as she shared the she went into more detail than what she gave us tonight, but it was really made MJC shine. And Chancellor Young, myself, Dr. Hoopus, and Dr. Bandiopati, did I do it okay? Were there with a couple of other staff that was there. It made us, it was good, and it was with Assemblyman Heath Flora. I also went to the Stanislaus County Office of Education dinner, which was just last night before, Monday night, and to the 10-year reception that we had in recognition for those that were receiving tenure. That was really exciting. Board retreat, and of course the policy procedures. And I'd like to thank Dr. Hoopus this month for giving us the opportunity today to have the coffee. And for anyone that came, it's great to be able to have an informal sitting situation to talk and share. So thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Margie.
I wanted to thank the Chancellor for organizing the April 12th staff recognition event, which seemed like it was months ago, but it was since our last board meeting. So that was a terrific event. And I know that the staff puts in so much time in making sure that that comes off so well. And I know Kimberly as well put in so much time to make sure that comes off so well. It was terrific. Really enjoyed it. And what a wonderful way to honor the staff. I also participated since our last meeting in Columbia College's scholarship ceremony hosted by the Columbia College Foundation, where hundreds of thousands of dollars are given out to very grateful students. And it's really something else to see the community give so much to our students. I loved attending the Fire Academy graduation. That was terrific. All of its tradition and ceremony for the 32 students who graduated, 5 of them women. That was so awesome. Also the Columbia College graduation, which Dr. B talked about. I also had the pleasure of meeting one-on-one with Dr. B. Bondepadier. I think you have to say the A at the end. Bondepadier.
Don't flaunt it.
And talking about this year's successes and next year's opportunities. So we had a wonderful discussion. Really so proud of the work that's being done at Columbia College by everyone. It's just super exciting. 2 more things. I wanted to acknowledge the reciprocity at Modesto City Schools that you talked about. And I know that under the Civic Center Act, we all do that. I mean, in Tuolumne County, when we had schools burned down, classrooms not available, Columbia College extended themselves. We didn't use those classrooms, but it's a reciprocity under the Civic Center Act. But it shouldn't go without or unnoticed, and I'm sure that's expressed, but I was hoping that the chancellor could, on behalf of the board, extend our gratitude to the superintendent of Modesto City Schools for that incredible cross-town reciprocity that we would do the same for. But thank you for pointing that out. It was really great. And all the reports, so fantastic. But last but not least, you know, we get these these agendas, and every time I go through it, I think about Graciela and what an amazing job you do in orchestrating this packet so that we can navigate it so easily. So I wanted to thank you for that. And that's all I have to say.
I couldn't do it without all of the staff who is involved, so thanks to them.
So thank you.
Thank you very much. Anne?
Thank you. First of all, I want to add my congratulations to Nina Bra Mansour for being our student trustee. We really appreciate it, and it's great to see your smile. You're too far away for me to get to talk to you too often, but thank you so much for your service in this area. I have a lot of events that I went to. I just kind of went to Dr. Hoopus's Let's Talk thing. I was so happy that he was doing it. Just it's your version of the coffee hour that we had today. You know, it's just an opportunity for people to come, ask questions, see how it is, and I just wanted to see how it was, and I enjoyed that. I attended the board retreat that we had. I also went to say goodbye to Al Alt and wish him well in his new duties and tell him that I'll miss him. The tenure ceremony was very good. I was glad that it was 2-minute speeches instead of 5-minute speeches, because this was, I don't know, the largest, you wouldn't know, but you just hear, but I mean, I remember going to be 8 people, 7 people, and we get a lot of information. Is this the largest one, Florida? Okay, there were like 30 people or something, so that was a good year 4 years ago. Well, I mean, it takes that long, yeah. I attended the MJC graduation lunch, and I enjoyed listening to the student speaker, and actually that's when I got to first see, I didn't get to speak with the new ASMJC president. I attended the nursing assistant pinning and the respiratory care pinning, and Monday we had the Policy and Procedure Committee meeting. That night we had SCOE, Stanislaus County Office of Education, a networking dinner, which is really good for us to network. We always have one of our goals to work with the K-12, and this is one of the best ways and easy ways to do it. And I do have to admit, Margie, when I heard you saying that you attended the Fire Academy graduation, I was going to say, I didn't see you there. But you attended the Columbia College one, and I attended the MJC one. Now, now, we only had one female, but she looks like she'll do great, okay? And so I just want to mention that I really did enjoy the coffee hour today. I'd love to see those if there's still interest. And it didn't work out, I think, the way it was intended, because I think people were supposed to ask the trustee things, and I ended up asking all the employees stuff, and I loved it. I learned a lot of things. It was very enjoyable. Thank you.
Thank you. Tony? Not like you didn't know it was coming.
No, but I don't want to bore you guys with everything, but this was probably one of the busiest months we had. So, but first of all, I want to say thank you for all of your serving. And my only kind of regret is that I only met you 4 or 5, so a half a year. So I think you owe me like half a year already. So, but thank you for all you do, and you're going to do great. Oh boy, I attended pretty much all the ones that you guys said. The board retreat. I had my first finance meeting, and it was pretty interesting, even though some might people not think so. But I love numbers, so it was really good. The staff recognition meeting. I mean, in Oakdale. The county dinner. That was one of my first ones too. Monday. It seems like I thought it was yesterday too, but they all kind of together. So, anyways, I'm having a blast. I had my first graduation event. It was amazing. I really loved the way that all the teachers got in the middle there. I never seen that before, and did the little pathway with all the students. So that was very nice. I'm just having a blast, and I'm learning. And I thank you for the coffee thing, coffee hour. I love the coffee hour, but I also thought it was kind of backwards because I was asking all these people what they did. So hopefully one of these days we can just put a little sign that says we can't ask questions, but they could ask questions of us. So that might work. But anyways, I'm having a blast. Thank you, and it's an honor to serve in this board. So
Thank you. Abe? Yep, Darren's not here.
I also attended the staff recognition dinner, nurse assistant grad, MJC graduation, finance committee, agenda briefing. Met with Alan McKisson today and also attended the board retreat. And I want to point out that I did attend a VIP JPA strategic planning with ASCIP, and I gave you all a copy where I say, fellow trustees, I attended our ASCIP VIP JPA strategic planning meeting in Monterey on April 16th through the 18th. A quick overview of the subject covered, VIP JPA overview and rates for members, lessons learned from past claims in all areas of coverage, examining employment practices, Actuarial 101, which is I'm more confused now than I was then, workman's comp and legislative updates, roundtable discussions covering all the topics that we talked about, and then we had our regular VIP JP order of business and closed session. I have enclosed a brief history of how the VIP JP was founded for your information, so you might want to look that over. And then today I attended the TRIO meeting today at this morning, and I also brought a copy of some statistics that you may be interested in. You should have received them, so somewhere along the line. So, and very interesting numbers, and that's what I did.
Awesome. I'm sorry I missed that meeting today. Okay, so since the last board meeting, I went to the staff recognition dinner, and it was great fun. And the board debrief meeting, the board retreat, which for those of you who don't know, was held in the exotic locale of right next door in the conference room. And the MJC Tenure Recognition Award Ceremony, which was really wonderful. And not that I'm bitter, but my husband's been here since 1991, and they didn't recognize tenure then. So he remembers me bugging him. I was insecure. I was like, do you have tenure? Do you know? Did you? And he said, I think so. I don't know. So he asked, and I think Ron Manzoni sent him a letter saying, yes, you have tenure. But nobody ever sent anything out. Nobody even knew if you got tenure or not. So I guess you didn't get a pink slip, but it was weird. So anyway, it was really wonderful to see that great celebration of everybody up on the stage, and whoever organized that was a blessing. And then I went to the MJC graduation luncheon, which was also really nice on the West Campus. Ann was there. And the Columbia graduation, which was beautiful. And it's such a different feeling because we have such a fewer number of graduates. They read a little bio about every graduate, so it's very personalized. And that was very nice. And it was also nice because Margie knew about a third of all the graduates because they went through her school system. So she's all like having these reunions, Yeah, I know. She had to hug everybody. But that was great too. That was great. And then Monday, I went to the board agenda preview, the policies and procedures, and then Graciela is always kind enough to meet with me. I didn't have the tabs then, and without the tabs, you cannot navigate this agenda. So I always appreciate the time she spends with me to go over it. Not that I don't still skip things sometimes, but it's the way it is. And also the trustee dinner where Senator Kathleen Galgiani was an unexpected guest. So that was really interesting too. And the coffee today was wonderful. It's so nice. People don't want to come up here to have casual conversation with us. So it's always great to have that opportunity to just sort of relax and get to know people. And I really appreciated that too. Okay, so that's the end of my report. Our next regular meeting of the Board of Trustees will be held on Wednesday, June 12th.
And I won't be able to attend that meeting, just for the record.
Oh, okay.
Neither will I.
So everybody else has to stay well, so we have a... We'll bring you some cake.
Nobody wants to come.
Okay. Anyway, some of us will be here on June 12th, and this meeting is adjourned.
No come, no pay.
That's right.
What?
Oh, you want to see?
Yeah, we have to have a majority.